Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Tian Lu with you on this Thursday, May the 14th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, the Chinese and U.S. presidents have held talks in Beijing, and President Xi Jinping says they agreed to work toward a constructive relationship of strategic stability. International Maritime Organization members have met in London on the safety of 20,000 seafarers trapped in the Strait of Hormuz. And officials in France have confirmed a norovirus outbreak aboard a cruise ship in Bordeaux. In business, China has become a key supplier of global AI infrastructure. In sports, Paris Saint-Germain have sealed a fifth straight League One title. In culture and entertainment, American musicians tours across China. Now checking today's top stories. The Chinese and U.S. leaders have held talks focused on bilateral relations and cooperation during the U.S. president's state visit to China. Chinese President Xi Jinping said transformations unseen in a century are accelerating across the globe, while the international landscape remains fluid and turbulent. He called on China and the United States to be partners rather than rivals.
我始终认为中美之间的共同利益大于分歧。
I've always believed that the common interests between China and the United States outweigh their differences. The success of each country is an opportunity for the other, and a stable China-US relationship benefits the whole world. The two sides should be partners, not rivals, and work together for mutual success and shared prosperity, finding the right way for major countries to get along in a new era. I look forward to exchanging views with President Trump on major issues that concern both our countries and the world, working together to steer the great ship of China-US relations on the right course, and making 2026 a historic and landmark year that builds on a past and opens up a new chapter for China-US relations.
President Xi said the two sides have agreed to work toward building a constructive relationship of strategic stability. He said the new vision will provide strategic guidance for bilateral ties over the next 3 years and beyond. He also stressed that facts have shown there are no winners in the trade war, adding that the essence of China-US economic and trade ties is mutual benefit and win-win cooperation. According to the Chinese president, economic and trade teams from both countries reached a generally balanced and positive outcome on Wednesday. He called on both sides to sustain the good momentum that they have worked hard to create. On the Taiwan question, President Xi said it remains the most important issue in China-US relations. He warned that if the issue is handled properly, bilateral ties can remain stable. But mishandling it could lead to clashes or even conflicts, putting the broader relationship at great jeopardy. President Xi emphasized that safeguarding peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is, in his words, the biggest common denominator between the two countries, and Washington must handle the issue with the utmost prudence. President Trump also highlighted the significance of the meeting.
There are those that say this is maybe the biggest summit ever. They can never remember anything like it. I can say in the United States, people aren't talking about anything else. But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
Following the talks, President Xi met with American business executives accompanying the U.S. delegation. He told them that China's door will only open wider and welcomed greater mutually beneficial cooperation. The business representatives said they remain optimistic about the Chinese market and hope to expand their presence and cooperation in China. To help us understand the key words in President Xi's remarks and their message, Pan Zhen spoke with Zhao Hai, Director of International Political Studies at the National Institute for Global Strategy.
President Xi Jinping says China and the U.S. must jointly answer questions of times. What's your reading into the weight of this remark?
Well, this is very important because the time right now is what we describe as the change unseen in a century. And I think for a very long period of time, there is certain international order that's been underpinning the current global exchanges. However, things are changing as we see that global trading systems are sort of fragmenting, and also trading are in sort of down to regional levels, and different partners are setting up different deals. So now how to deal with very fragmented regulations, trading systems, and how to deal with the situation, that's one thing. And the other thing is geopolitical tensions are rising again and all over the place, from Latin America, South Asia, Middle East, Africa, everywhere there's reignited disputes. So the world leaders needs to come together, and particularly U.S. China needs to come together to figure out how to bring peace and prosperity and maintain stability. At this critical juncture, the two leaders need to lay out their vision of the future. If they have devised, I think the world will be very concerned, deeply concerned. If they can have a common vision, of course, for the future, and then I think the world will calm down and have a much better period of trying to plan their future.
Right, and that brings us to another remarks from President Xi Jinping. He said, China and the U.S. should be partners rather than rivals. Again, Mr. Zhao, what's your reading into this?
This is coming back to the definition issue, like how do we define our relationship? Previously, there are different kinds of definition from U.S. national security strategy, calling China a revisionist or a competitor, strategic competitor, and even adversary. But I think now, through the past years and through this very intense interaction, the U.S. side there's rethinking about this issue. So right now, I think what I call the two sides needs to build is a co-working relationship, recognizing that there's common tasks, common challenges that they can work together on. And as President Xi pointed out, together we can work on big issues, very concrete issues that can solve problems not on both sides, but also for the world. So I think moving forward, we can build our relationship brick by brick from a co-working relationship to a more friendly relationship, and then ultimately reaching a partner level of relationship. And that needs the two top leaders as well as on the operational level, the two sides really working hard towards that goal.
That was Zhao Hai at the National Institute for Global Strategy on China and the U.S. charting the course of future relations. The Chinese and U.S. leaders have visited the Temple of Heaven together. President Xi Jinping welcomed his counterpart at the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests. They took a photo in front of it and toured the hall. China's Commerce Ministry says it is willing to work with the U.S. to expand the cooperation list and shorten the problem list, aiming for healthy, stable, and sustainable trade ties. The remarks followed Wednesday's trade talks between Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng and U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in South Korea. The China Council for the Promotion of International Trade says China and the U.S. have broad space for practical cooperation. The Council expects that under the guidance of the heads of state, business communities from both countries will further deepen exchanges and cooperation and make new contributions to bilateral relations. CCPIT also welcomes more U.S. businesses to take part in the Global Supply Chain Expo in June and jointly safeguard the stability of global supply chains. Farmers in the United States are hoping for stable agricultural cooperation with China following President Trump's state visit to Beijing. Amid broader supply chain volatility, many U.S. soybean growers are facing great pressure. Due to geopolitical tensions and rising costs, prices for fuel and fertilizer have nearly doubled in some states. Jim Sutter is CEO of the U.S. Soybean Export Council. He believes the leaders' meeting will bring much-needed certainty to the industry.
I think our farmers really appreciate the fact that when the leadership of the two countries meet, we seem to get reports out, and that continues to be reiterated. And so that gives our farmers that certainty, what I was talking about earlier, about how when they plant a crop, they want to know that they're going to have a market. I mean, I just sense a real sincere desire to see the relationship between China and the U.S. at a governmental level and also at a business level, to see that improving. I think there is this recognition that we are better together. That's sort of a saying that we like to use.
Sutter also stressed that maintaining stable economic and trade ties between the two countries is essential. 2026 marks the beginning of China's 15th five-year plan for social and economic development. President Li Yafan of the Academy of Contemporary China and World Studies says the five-year period creates new opportunities for China-US economic cooperation.
China now cares more about growth quality than just growth speed and will create new opportunities for economic cooperation. The plan opens more sectors to investment. Modern services like finance will expand further. China's commitment to opening up provides a stable framework for long-term partnerships, including China and US. As think tank, we pay always attention on the trajectory of China-US relations because they are important not only for both countries, but also for the whole world. Stability remains the shared goal for both sides. Top-level meetings provide essential strategic guidance, and trade mechanisms will help resolve ongoing disputes. Many sectors, such like climate and health, offer space for deep cooperation. In one word, pragmatic approaches will shape future China-US relations, especially in healthy and sustainable way.
That was the president of the Academy of Contemporary China and World Studies on opportunities for China-US relations within a new development period. As China emerges as an increasingly popular destination for international education, a growing number of American students are choosing to study Chinese and experience life in the country firsthand. For many, the journey is far more than learning a language. It's about understanding a culture and building connections across borders. At Beijing Language and Culture University, students from the United States shared how studying in China has changed their perspectives and enriched their lives. Wang Zihang reports.
Max Woolman, a student from New York studying Chinese in a one-year program, says daily life in China offers a perfect environment for language learning.
I feel like over here it's really easy to immerse yourself in the local culture, use the language every day, and improve very quickly.
With a background in international relations, Max hopes strengthened Chinese skills will pave the way for a career in a Chinese-speaking environment. But beyond academics, he believes language learning also brings people closer together.
At least where I'm from in New York, we have a lot of Chinese-speaking people, and it's very important that we learn each other's languages. Like, there's so many, it's such an important part of New York identity.
Like many foreign students, Max says adapting to life in China came with small cultural surprises, including the local habit of drinking hot water with meals. But he says openness and curiosity make the adjustment easy. For Lachlan Reed, studying in China became a chance to reconnect with his family heritage before beginning medical school in the United States.
I thought, medical school is very long, so when am I going to have another chance to really immerse myself in my family's, culture and really learn about my heritage?
He says one of the most memorable parts of his experience has been the kindness and encouragement he receives from ordinary people while practicing Chinese. Whether speaking with restaurant staff or strangers on the street, Reed says nearly everyone he meets becomes part of his learning experience.
Chinese people are so open to the fact that you're just trying to learn the language, and they're so encouraging.
Another student, Eric Darien, says his time in China helped him better appreciate the country's traditions and social values. One phrase he often uses is 入乡随俗, or when in Rome, do as the Romans do. During the Spring Festival holiday, Eric visited a friend's hometown in Shanxi province, where he joined local celebrations, parades, and traditional family activities. Currently working as a software engineer in the American power industry, Eric says he hopes his experiences in China can help encourage future cooperation between the two countries.
I think the American people and the Chinese people have a lot more in common than they think, and would really enjoy being friendlier to each other.
As more young Americans come to China, their experiences suggest that cultural understanding is often built not through policy or dialogue, but through everyday life, shared meals, conversations, and small moments of connection. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Wang Zihang.
We recount President Xi Jinping's visit to the United States over 40 years ago, where his friendship with residents of an Iowa town continues and shapes the lives of people in China and US today. Dan Williams reports.
Muscatine, a small city in Iowa.
Oh, hello.
Sarah Landy is one of the people here who has known Chinese President Xi Jinping for more than 40 years. In China, their enduring friendship is warmly remembered as that of old friends.
When we visited China as part of this Old Friends Coming Again, I was able to sit next to Madame Peng, and she said, well, I just had to meet the people from Iowa and find out why my husband was so fond of them.
In 1985, Xi Jinping, then a county-level official, visited Muscatine, where he was warmly received by local residents, including Landy. 27 years later, in 2012, during a visit to the United States as China's vice president, Xi returned to Muscatine and made a special stop to reunite with those same friends, here at Landy's home.
President Xi, and actually myself, sitting on the couch here, he remembered most everything people had shared as their thoughts when he visited before.
As a result of that friendship, these old friends have played an important role in fostering people-to-people exchanges between China and the United States, in Muscatine and beyond.
It's really been a tremendous ride. When Branstad became the ambassador to China, that took it to a whole nother level. And then people on the grass floor like Sarah and Luca have really carried the torch and kept the relationship alive and brought in everybody else that's really benefited from the relationship.
14.
The decades-old memories are carefully preserved by Sarah Landy in photo albums and letters.
So I've had a privilege to...
Page by page, a friendship that began in the 1980s still lives on.
That was Dan Williams on the story between President Xi Jinping and his American friends in Iowa. Coming up, International Maritime Organization members have met in London on the safety of 20,000 seafarers trapped in the Strait of Hormuz.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
Now it's 18 minutes past the hour. Member states of the International Maritime Organization have met in London to discuss the safety of 20,000 seafarers stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. The global maritime body is hoping to help evacuate vessels that have been stranded for the past 3 months. Stuart Smith reports.
The focus, and certainly from the press gathered here, has been what on earth can the IMO do to help with the Strait of Hormuz situation? The Secretary General, who I was speaking to earlier here, says that is, of course, the root causes are outside the remit of the IMO. But what they can do is try to help the seafarers and the vessels manage this situation. And he said it was important for him that the seafarers were put first and then the vessels in order of prioritisation. 20,000 of them are stuck. They have been for 3 months. And that's resulting, we're seeing, in the first PTSD claims for insurance companies for these trapped sailors, and the Secretary General is very concerned about their ongoing mental health, especially those of aboard ships that have been taken by Iran or the United States as they try to control the movement on the Strait of Hormuz, though he says he's in contact with both countries who assure that the seafarers on board those ships that have been taken are in good condition. There's no solution, of course, to come from the IMO, but they are looking at ways to make this process smoother. Having said that, the risks could still escalate, as the Secretary General told the plenary earlier.
This situation persists, the greater the risk of a serious maritime incident. Freedom of navigation must be respected. The safety of seafarers and ships must be ensured. And finally, seafarers and merchant vessels must never become collateral victims of geopolitical tensions.
Now, while some seafarers do report they are being placed under pressure by their companies to effectively make a run for it and try to get out, well, there's talk about potential dialogue going on behind the scenes between various countries in order to get some ships moving.
That was Stuart Smith in London on efforts to get ships through the Strait of Hormuz. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is fighting to stay in power amid rising discontent in his Labour Party. The turmoil has overshadowed the traditional pomp of Parliament's state opening presented by King Charles III. More than a fifth of Labour lawmakers want Starmer to set a timetable for departure, and some junior ministers have quit. Media reports suggest the Health Secretary Wes Streeting may launch a leadership bid as soon as Thursday. Kemi Badenoch is leader of the opposition and says the Prime Minister lacks control.
This is a highly unusual moment. The Prime Minister is in office but not in power. Everyone is trying to pretend it's all right. It's not all right.
Starmer's position has been weakened by heavy Labour losses in last week's local elections. His government faces a struggling economy, policy missteps, and questions over his judgment. The Prime Minister insists he will not stand down, and over 100 Labour lawmakers have signed a letter opposing a leadership contest. A small city in northwest China is emerging as the country's computing valley through its role in the national-level East Data West Computing project. Ho Jing finds out how Qingyang is harnessing abundant natural resources and transforming itself into a national digital hub.
For over 5 decades, it has been known for its rich deposits in oil, coal, and natural gas beneath the ground. Now, it is drawing more attention for a new kind of resource in the digital world, the green tokens.
The exponential growth of artificial intelligence is driving demand for more computing power, a demand that can only be sustainably supported by renewable energy sources such as solar and wind.
The core advantages of building a data center in Qingyang is first its energy advantage. Qingyang boasts abundant energy resources, particularly new energy sources such as wind and solar power. Second advantage is its natural conditions. Qingyang's relatively low annual temperatures make it ideal for natural cooling of data centers, significantly reducing energy consumption for refrigeration.
Qingyang's East-West Data Calculation Industrial Park adopts a green power aggregation model. By leveraging the region's abundant wind and solar resources, it establishes a long-term mechanism for multi-party collaboration and mutual benefit among government, grid operators, power generators, and end users. This model helps new energy projects to connect to the grid locally, and through unified dispatch of the national grid and market-based trading, genuinely transforms green electricity into green computing power.
The computing center in Qingyang can efficiently meet computing requests from various sectors in every corner of the country.
Take Beijing, for example. The current latency is roughly just over 7 milliseconds, and around 10 milliseconds to Shanghai. This level of performance means Qingyang's computing power can fully meet the demands of domestic AI and data-intensive applications. Whether it's everyday smart mobile apps or autonomous driving systems, computational tasks can be hosted in Qingyang while delivering a seamless experience to users nationwide.
Qingyang's computing power primarily flows into 3 major areas, supporting the training and inference of leading domestic large language models, serving the overseas expansion of tech enterprises, and supporting the development of real economy sectors such as agriculture, energy, and healthcare.
Through dedicated network links between overseas and domestic nodes. This infrastructure provides computing power support for the international operations of companies such as DeepSeek, Meitu, and Minimax.
The drone inspection application is one example of computing electricity synergy, with electricity powering computing and computing optimizing electricity. A virtuous circle can be formed, injecting robust momentum into sustainable economic growth in both the digital and the real economies.
That was Ho Jing reporting. Coming up, officials in France have confirmed the norovirus outbreak aboard a cruise ship.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Maras disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
Now it's 25 minutes past the hour. Officials in southwestern France say an outbreak of illness on the cruise ship docked in Bordeaux is viral gastroenteritis caused by norovirus. The prefecture of Gironde reported no severe cases so far. Asymptomatic passengers will be allowed to leave the vessel. The ship Ambition arrived Tuesday with about 1,700 people aboard. This embarkation was initially halted after a passenger around age 90 died, possibly linked to the gastroenteritis-like illness. Around 80 others showed digestive symptoms. 82-year-old Kevin Stars is a retired lecturer from Ireland who is on the cruise ship with his wife. He says self-service has been replaced by staff service.
We can still walk around. There was this one deck, the deck that, next to the shore, which we were out on this morning, has been restricted for this afternoon. I have no idea why. But otherwise, pretty well everywhere else is proceeding more or less as normal. Just with a lot of care. There's no self-service permitted now. You have to be served by the staff. But that is hardly a great hardship.
Later tests at Bordeaux University Hospital confirmed the viral origin of the outbreak. According to a statement, infected individuals will remain isolated on board as quarantine measures continue. The cruise operator will decide whether to continue the itinerary pending further medical information. Norovirus is highly contagious and known to spread easily in closed settings like cruise ships. The head of the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization says peace and stability are essential for food security. Speaking at a regional conference in Dushanbe, FAO Director General Chu Dongyu urged Europe and Central Asia to work together on climate shocks, market volatility, and geopolitical disruptions. He highlighted that conflicts block food, fertilizer, and seeds from reaching the most vulnerable.
Peace and stability are prerequisites for food security, and the right to food is a basic human right. We must work together to mitigate the impact of the conflict on vulnerable populations, ensure food, fertilizer, seeds each reach those who need them most. FAO stand ready to support the inclusive response that keep the market functioning and protect the most exposed.
Chu noted that the region is warming twice as fast as the global average, with over 90 million hectares of land degraded, while $21 billion in development finance has flowed to agri-food systems since 2015. He said much more is needed. He called for blended finance and private capital to reach smallholder farmers, women, and youth. Now it's 29 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast before the break. Beijing is down to 20 on Thursday evening. Friday will be cloudy and 31. Shanghai will see light rain with a low of 21 tonight, tomorrow cloudy with a high of 27. Chongqing will see heavy rain tonight and tomorrow with a low of 22 and a high of 27. Nanchang will be overcast tonight and tomorrow with a low of 21 and a high of 29. Lhasa will see shower with a low of 7 tonight, tomorrow cloudy at 18. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see light rain with a low of 22 this evening. Friday will be overcast and 35 degrees Celsius. Now it's time for a short break. So far this hour, the Chinese and US presidents have held talks in Beijing, and President Xi Jinping says they agreed to work toward a constructive relationship of strategic stability. International Maritime Organization members have met in London on the safety of 20,000 seafarers trapped in the Strait of Hormuz. Tian Lu with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
Pods Plus, a selection of the best podcasts in China, covering history, customs, music, literature, and in-depth dialogues. Find your way to a wealth of Chinese culture and thinking, all on Post Plus.
From the refreshing cup of tea that starts your morning to the paper that you write on, the roots of many familiar parts of modern life can be traced back to ancient ideas. Join us on Made in Ancient China and discover how ideas born millennia ago became some of the world's greatest treasures. Made in Ancient China brings you stories of human ambition, inspiration, and connection. Now available on all major podcast platforms.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Qian Lu with you on this Thursday. Still to come. In business, China has become a key supplier of global AI infrastructure. In sports, Paris Saint-Germain have sealed a 5th straight League One title. In culture and entertainment, American musicians tours across China. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTN Radio. But first, checking today's headline news. The Chinese and US presidents have discussed issues such as trade and the Taiwan question during a state visit by US President Donald Trump. President Xi Jinping said the Taiwan question is the biggest common denominator between China and the United States and could lead to clashes or even conflicts if mishandled. He said as the world has come to a crossroads, China and the US must jointly answer the questions of the times.
A transformation unseen in a century is accelerating across the globe, and the international situation is fluid and turbulent. The world has come to another crossroads. Can China and the United States overcome the so-called Thucydides trap and create a new paradigm of major country relations? Can we meet global challenges together and provide greater stability for the world? Can we build a bright future together for our bilateral relations in the interest of the well-being of the two peoples and the future of humanity? These are the questions vital to history, to the world, and to the people. They are the questions of our times that the leaders of major countries need to answer together.
The Chinese leader also stressed the essence of bilateral economic and trade relations is mutual benefit and win-win cooperation. He called for the two countries to work together to maintain the current positive momentum. President Trump hailed his friendship with President Xi, saying he believes in a bright future.
You and I have known each other now for a long time. In fact, the longest relationship of our two countries that any president and president has had, and that's to me an honor. We've had a fantastic relationship. We've gotten along. When there were difficulties, we worked it out. I would call you and you would call me, and whenever we had a problem, people don't know, whenever we had a problem, we worked that out very quickly. We're going to have a fantastic future together.
On Thursday morning, President Xi held a welcome ceremony for his counterpart. They inspected the People's Liberation Army Guards of Honor and watched the formations of the Guards of Honor. The chairman of the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade has met with Boeing Global President Brendan Nelson. Boeing is part of the business delegation joining President Trump on his trip to China. CCPIT Chief Ren Hongbin expressed hopes that Boeing's business in China will continue to grow.
You have witnessed the whole process of China's opening up and reform policy, and also contribute to the process. And I do hope that in the future, Boeing will be continue fostering the cooperation and partnership with China.
Nelson said Boeing is proud about its partnership with China that has lasted 54 years and transcended time. China has announced it will host a second APEC senior officials meeting in Shanghai on Monday and Tuesday. The Foreign Ministry said the meeting will review mid-year progress of APEC cooperation, consolidate early gains, and lay the groundwork for activities and outcomes of the leaders' meeting in the second half of the year. APEC committees and working groups are also holding meetings covering areas such as trade and investment, women, telecommunications, and food security. The U.S. Senate has confirmed Kevin Walsh as the next chair of the Federal Reserve in a 54-45 vote. The 56-year-old financier and former Fed governor is set to succeed Jerome Powell, whose term ends Friday. Powell will remain on the Fed's board. Walsh previously served as a Federal Reserve Governor from 2006 to 2011. His first policy meeting is set for June the 16th to the 17th. Walsh has signaled changes ahead, including closer coordination with the U.S. Treasury Department and reducing the Fed's balance sheet. Cambodia and Laos have pledged to boost security cooperation following a meeting between Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and Lao Minister of Public Security Vanthong Khomani in Phnom Penh. Hun Manet said combating transnational crime, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and cybercrime is an essential task that requires close cooperation between the two countries. Khomani hoped that his visit would contribute to strengthening cooperation, particularly along the border provinces. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China has become a key supplier of global AI infrastructure.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
37 minutes past the hour, turning to business, here's Tianyu.
Thank you, Tianlu. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed lower on Thursday. The Shanghai Composite was down over 1.5%, and the Shenzhen Component lost almost 2.1%. Major bank and forage shares were among the top gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index remained almost flat. Japan's Nikkei declined nearly 1%. The Chinese Commerce Ministry says the country is a key supplier of global AI infrastructure and a major buyer and seller of integrated circuits in the world market. Officials say this is not only due to the alignment of global industrial cycles and market demand, but also a reflection of China's steadily improving foreign trade structure and rising industrial innovation capabilities. The ministry also says the external environment remains complex and volatile. Factors such as slowing global economic growth and escalating geopolitical conflicts may still have a certain impact on China's foreign trade. But overall, the ministry says the long-term positive trajectory of the country's foreign trade remains unchanged and its fundamental base remains solid. In the first 4 months of this year, the total value of China's foreign trade in goods surpassed 16.2 trillion yuan, and that's about $2.4 trillion, a yearly increase of nearly 15%, continuing a solid growth trend. The import and export of mechanical and electronic products grew nearly 20%. In Marshall, Michigan, a $3 billion battery plant backed by Ford and powered by licensed technology from China's battery giant CATL is taking shape. The project not only reflects continued commercial engagement between U.S. and Chinese companies, but also highlights how cross-Pacific partnerships are helping drive innovation, lower costs, and create jobs in America's fast-evolving electric vehicle industry. Dan Williams has more.
Work continues on a $3 billion battery manufacturing facility in Marshall, Michigan. This huge plant is being built by Ford and will license technology from Chinese battery manufacturer CATL. Once completed, it will produce lithium iron phosphate or LFP batteries for Ford's new electric vehicle, as well as larger scale batteries for stationary storage. It's expected that more than 1,000 people will be employed at the plant. Scott Ladd is the owner of Broadway Grill, a restaurant in the city.
Well, it's absolutely picked up the traffic through the town. There's definitely more people here. Well, more people in town definitely means more people eating out and shopping locally. So it definitely is going to increase our revenue.
It won't be long now until this vast electric vehicle battery manufacturing facility swings into operation. And it's all part of Ford's major push to produce more affordable electric vehicles.
Ford is in the process of attempting to produce a mid-size EV pickup truck at a starting price of around $30,000. The company says in order to do that, they are reinventing and simplifying the production line assembly process, while the CATL licensed batteries will also drive down the cost of that key component.
We've not seen this level of change in the auto industry for over 100 years.
Paul Eisenstein is one of the most widely published auto writers in the US.
Partnerships are going to be essential. The amount of money that is required for any of the new technological changes that are sweeping through the auto industry is huge. But it's critical to have partnerships today because the costs are just too high and there's so many things you have to bet on, you just don't know where they'll go.
Ford argues that without the partnership, it would have taken the company 10 years to catch up on battery technology. Ford also recently announced the building of new plants in both Kentucky and Tennessee. But there is also some excitement that the company is expanding its investment in its home state of Michigan.
It's pretty clear that if you actually get an assembly plant here, it's about the best job creator and job sustainer of any new investment. You've got to sustain it, but if you can do that, it's a terrific whole industry builder.
While back in Marshall, there are others that echo that sentiment.
Marshall began to see a drop in population and in employment opportunity for folks. Getting something that would bring jobs to the community is really super important for Marshall. You know, again, I'm really positive on what's happening right now.
For Ford, their hope is that this investment will help the company once again become a key driver in the EV industry.
And that was Dan Williams reporting. The volume of China's e-commerce logistics maintained fast and stable growth in April. According to the Federation of Logistics and Purchasing, the e-commerce logistics index rose slightly from a month ago to 110.6 points last month. The China Logistics Information Center says multiple supply-side indicators of the index showed significant improvement, indicating that the operational efficiency and service experience of the logistics industry continue to get better. At the same time, consumer demand in the e-commerce market has shown notable growth in areas such as seasonal wardrobe changes and outdoor travel. Demand for categories such as seasonal apparel and outdoor sports equipment has grown steadily. Seasonal agricultural products from various regions continue to sell well through the live streaming plus direct origin shipping model. Searches and transactions for travel and leisure-related items such as suitcases, portable digital devices, and outdoor cookware have remained active. Meanwhile, this year China has opened 68 new air cargo routes, including 21 in April, which mainly connect Europe and Asia. Chinese scientists say they have developed a new programmable quantum computing prototype called Zhoujiang 4.0, setting a new world record in optical quantum computing. The research, led by the University of Science and Technology of China, was published in the journal Nature. Researchers say the machine completed a highly complex calculation known as Gaussian boson sampling vastly faster than the world's most powerful supercomputer. The new prototype can control and detect quantum states involving up to 3,050 photons, a major jump from the 255 photons achieved by the previous Zhoujiang 3.0 system. Unlike conventional computers which process information using bits represented by zeros and ones, quantum computers use quantum bits or qubits that can process enormous amounts of information simultaneously. The Zhoujiang system belongs to the photonic approach to quantum computing, meaning it uses particles of light, known as photons, to carry out calculations. Mexico has announced a new energy plan to lessen its dependence on crucial energy sources such as natural gas from the United States and increase clean energy sources. Frank Contreras reports from Mexico City.
Mexico is a major industrial center in the Western Hemisphere. And these powerful industries require steady and reliable sources of energy. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum announced an $8 billion investment plan to expand and modernize Mexico's natural gas infrastructure through 2030.
The goal of any country is energy sovereignty. We want to increase our production capacity for natural gas and renewable energy, so we depend on no one. Our objective is to increase the production of natural gas in Mexico and put it to other uses, not just for electricity generation.
For decades, Mexico has relied on the U.S. state of Texas to provide more than 70% of the natural gas Mexico uses to fuel industries and electric power plants. This energy relationship between Texas and Mexico has become one of the most important cross-border industrial systems in the Western Hemisphere. Sheinbaum's plan would expand and modernize Mexico's pipeline systems. The plan would also increase electric energy from clean sources, including wind, and boost Mexico's reliance on abundant solar energy.
That was part of the
Energy sector analyst Miriam Grunstein says Mexico's plan to make itself less dependent on natural gas from the United States faces many challenges.
Well, there's a lot of planning going on. Whether this planning is actually efficient and can materialize is another question. There's also a lot of interests.
Grunstein and other energy experts are concerned with government regulations and what they say is a lack of funds that could deter these ambitious plans to move Mexico toward its energy transition.
And that was Frank Contreras reporting.
Thank you very much. That was Tianyu with Business. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up, A Sports. Paris Saint-Germain have sealed a 5th straight Ligue 1 title.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
It's 47 minutes past the hour. Turning to sports, here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Tianlu. We begin with football. Paris Saint-Germain have sealed the 5th straight Ligue 1 title with a 2-0 away win over Lens. Kvicha Kvaratskhelia opened the scoring, and Ibrahim Mbaye added a late second. The result gives PSG an unassailable 9-point lead with 1 game to spare. It's their 14th league title overall, 12 of them since 2011 under Qatari ownership. Luis Enrique's side had all but clinched the crown last weekend. They continue a trophy-laden campaign, having already won the UEFA Super Cup, the FIFA Intercontinental Cup and the French Champions Trophy. Attention now turns to the Champions League final against Arsenal in Budapest on May 30th, where PSG will chase back-to-back European titles. Inter Milan have lifted the Italian Cup after a commanding 2-0 victory over Lazio, sealing a domestic double to go with their 21st Serie A title. Marcus Thuram broke the deadlock in the 14th minute with a header from a corner as the ball took a deflection on its way into the net. The Nerazzurri doubled their lead in the 31st minute when Lautaro Martinez pounced from close range to finish a low cross. It's Inter's first league and cup double since 2010, when Jose Mourinho's side completed a historic treble, including the Champions League. In La Liga, newly crowned Spanish champions Barcelona suffered a sharp 1-0 defeat away to Alaves, ending their bid to match the all-time La Liga record of 100 points. Hansi Flick's side needed 3 straight wins to reach that milestone, but fell at the first hurdle in Vitoria. The coach pointed to a lack of focus before halftime.
I'm disappointed about the result that we lost today, of course. But at the end, we have to accept it because we played against an opponent. They are fighting to stay in the La Liga, and they make it really tough for us. It was not so easy. How I said before, we got the goal the last minute in the first half, so we have to be more focused in this moment.
Ibrahim Diabati struck in the first half stoppage time to earn Alaves a crucial win in their relegation fight, lifting them out of the drop zone to 15th. Elsewhere, Sevilla edged Villarreal 3-2 away to climb to 10th. Espanyol ended an 18-match winless run with a 2-0 win over Athletic Bilbao, and Getafe boosted their European hopes with a 3-1 victory over Mallorca. Manchester City cut Arsenal's lead at the top of the Premier League to just 2 points with a 3-0 victory over Crystal Palace at Etihad Stadium. The result leaves Arsenal needing victories in their final 2 matches to keep their title hopes alive. The Gunners host Burnley on Monday, while City travel to Bournemouth on Tuesday, just 3 days after facing Chelsea in the FA Cup final at Wembley. City manager Pep Guardiola noted that Chelsea have enjoyed a full week of rest ahead of Saturday's showdown.
Well, it's not, of course, the FA Cup final, but after Bournemouth, well, 3 days. Chelsea had been all week at home, training, preparing the final. We have to travel to London. They will be at home with their wives and kids. So that is fatigue. And of course, we have a lot. When I have full confidence for all the squad. Imagine players didn't play today, and they are so good.
City are chasing history as the first team to reach 4 straight FA Cup finals, while also extending their unbeaten run against Chelsea to 13 matches. Manchester United are set to open formal talks with Michael Carrick over the permanent head coach role following his impressive spell as interim manager. The 44-year-old took charge in January after Ruben Amorim's dismissal. He has guided United to 33 points from 15 Premier League matches, the best record in the division over that period. Carrick has also lifted United from 7th to 3rd place, securing Champions League qualification. Just 1 point from their final 2 games will confirm a top 3 finish. China's U16 men's football team edged Tajikistan 3-2 to claim a second straight win at the CFA Team China Xintai Cup International Youth Tournament. Tajikistan struck first in the 24th minute before Yuan Bohan leveled from the penalty spot. Yang Chenshuo fired China ahead early in the second half, but Tajikistan responded almost immediately to make it 2-2. China's substitutions in the 61st minute proved decisive. Yuan set up Peng Xiran to score the winner just moments later. On Saturday, China will face South Korea, which thrashed Tajikistan 7-0 earlier in the tournament.
Thank you very much. And that was Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, American musicians tours across China.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
Now it's 52 minutes past the hour, turning to culture and entertainment. From John Legend to students from Yale University choirs, American performers are making the most of their tours across China, taking in concerts by day and night markets, high-speed rail journeys, and city strolls after dark. Fei Fei has more.
In concert halls and on university campuses, music has always worked like magic to draw people together across cultures.
I think music is transcending, it transcends those boundaries and barriers and helps connect us all together.
Being soft and connected to people and supporting and loving. So I think that, especially these days, the more music, the better, right? To have the open heart and to be connected to each other.
For visiting performers like John Legend and Andy Tubman, coming to China is no longer just a tour stop, but also a chance to better understand the people from a different culture.
In China, I think people really love the emotional, soft songs, right? Which is why I love coming here, because I like to sing emotional, soft songs.
Between their rehearsals and performances, they've been exploring everyday life here in China, from city walks and local cafes to food markets and high-speed rail trips. Online, many young travelers are calling it China Maxing, fully embracing life here in China. And earlier this year, members of the Whiffenpoofs with Yale University also toured in China, performing alongside local choirs.
That is the moment where I really felt how music can transcend language and transcend a lot of boundaries and bring everybody together.
In one particular village in southwest China's Guizhou province, spontaneous singing turned into a shared celebration.
We originate from two very different styles of music. I do think, though, that we share this love of just the pure harmony of voice without instruments. And so in that, we were able to share a lot of commonalities with one another. And so I think, first of all, I think singing in such a beautiful outdoor venue is very rare. We often sing, in indoor venues. And so the fact that we were just able to sing out into the nature with that beautiful backdrop that you mentioned was just so special. And I think that, like you said, we were just able to blend with them, and it was such an incredible experience.
The Grand Dome Choir, as well as all of the other choruses that we cooperated with, is that it's not just merely an artistic performance, it's also an unfolding of a historical tapestry, because so many of those songs, they have a lot of historical meaning in those, and it's through music where we really learn a culture in a much deeper level.
From sold-out concerts and village gatherings, the language may differ, but the connection feels familiar. And sometimes, the most memorable exchanges happen far beyond the stage.
That was Feifei reporting. Archaeologists at Sanxingdui ruins in Sichuan have uncovered the earliest meteoritic iron artifact in southwest China. Found in the number 7 sacrificial pit, the 20-centimeter long object is made entirely of meteoritic iron, unlike the bronze iron composites common in the Central Plains region. Likely a tool, weapon, or ritual item, it fills a major gap in the region's archaeological record, showing that 3,000 years ago, people in southwest China were already recognizing and using meteoritic iron. The China Pavilion at London Craft Week is showcasing wedding costumes, weaving, embroidery, and contemporary craftsmanship from diverse Chinese ethnic groups. Themed Those Who Make China Beautiful, it highlighted traditional motifs symbolizing blessings alongside modern interpretations, attracting hundreds of design, art, and culture professionals. Exhibits emphasized female artisans and intangible heritage inheritors sharing China's story of family and love. Now it's 57 minutes past the hour, checking the forecast for the day. Beijing is down to 20 on Thursday evening. Friday will be cloudy and 31. Shanghai will see light rain with a low of 21 tonight. Tomorrow cloudy with a high of 27. Chongqing will see heavy rain tonight, and tomorrow with a low of 22 and a high of 27. Nanchang will be overcast tonight and tomorrow with a low of 21 and a high of 29. Lhasa will see shower with a low of 7 tonight. Tomorrow cloudy at 18. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see light rain with a low of 22 this evening. Friday will be overcast and 35 degrees Celsius. That's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour, making news today. The Chinese and US presidents have held talks in Beijing, and President Xi Jinping says they agreed to work toward a constructive relationship of strategic stability. International Maritime Organization members have met in London on the safety of 20,000 seafarers trapped in the Strait of Hormuz. On behalf of the staff, this is Tianlu in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the yellow river in his eyes.
The yellow river is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy, and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in the time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio